Hello, fifth graders. We are beginning a new unit in Math, Unit 2, and one of our learning targets in this unit is to be able to read, write, and interpret numbers in 4 different ways. And I've listed those ways under the key vocabulary. In this first lesson, we're going to be talking about the first 3, standard notation, expanded notation, and number and word notation. You've heard these before. We talked about them when we started the year in the 5th grade book. But you may want to take notes on each of these different ways of representing numbers. And if you're going to take notes, you can just stop the video, make your notes, and then start it again. So we're going to begin by talking about standard notation. Standard notation is the most familiar way to represent numbers. In standard notation, the digits are written in places that are determined by their place value. So it's the typical or usual way we write numbers. And I put a place value chart on the screen for you. If you look at it, you can see that there are some patterns in this chart. One pattern is that each place on the chart is 10 times greater than the place to the right. So 10 is 10 times greater than 1, and 100 is 10 times greater than 10, and 1,000 is 10 times greater than 100, and that continues along the chart. Another pattern is that each of the periods or groups of numbers is divided into 3 places. There's the ones place, the tens place, and the hundreds place. And as we move to our left, there's the 1,000s place, the 10,000s place, the 100,000s place. You'll also notice that each period or group of numbers is separated by a comma. So when we use the patterns in the place value chart, we are able to write numbers. So if I had the number 32,814 and I was going to write it, I could use my place value chart to help me. So I've got 32,000, my comma to separate the periods, 814. I can use that chart to help me write any number, especially large numbers in the trillions. The next thing that we're going to talk about, the next way of describing numbers, is through expanded notation. In expanded notation, the number is written as the sum of the value of the digits. So we look at what each digit's value is. If we were going to write this number in our place value chart, we'd have 2, 3, 5. And in expanded notation, each of these digits would be written according to their place value. So the value of the 2 is in the hundreds place. It's going to be written 2 times 100. And again, we're finding the sum of each of these values. So we're going to add to that. 3 is in our tens place, so it's written as 3 times 10, plus 5 is in the ones place. It is written as 5 times 1. So in expanded notation, 235 is 2 times the value of its place, 2 times 100, plus 3 times 10, the value of its place, plus 5 times 1. So let's look at a bigger number to do exactly the same thing. And again, your place value chart can help you. I can write my digits in the spot. My 8, 6, 3, 7, 0, 6. And when I'm going to look at expanded notation, when I've got my place value chart, I can see the value of the 8. It is 8 times 100,000. So I'd have my 8 times its value, 100,000. And remember, we're doing the sum. So again, I'd look at the 6. The 6 is in the 10,000s place. So it would be 6 times 10,000. And I would continue that way. Plus 3 times 1,000 plus 7 times 100. There's nothing here, so I can ignore the 0 times 10 plus 6 times 1. So again, this is how we write a number in expanded notation using place value to help us. So now it's your turn. I'd like you to pause the video and I'd like you to write each of these numbers in expanded form. And if you need to go back and look at the place value chart, you can. So again, pause the video, write each of these numbers in expanded form, representing each of the digits according to its place value. When you're done writing these two numbers in expanded form, begin the video again. All right, now we're going to look at number and word notation. And again, you see that number and word notation consists of the significant digits of a number followed by a word for its place value. So, number and word. We're going to take a number that's in standard notation and convert it to number and word. So if I had the number, I'm going to write it right here. If I had this number in standard notation and I wanted to convert it to number and word notation, first of all, it depends on my largest period because the 2 and the 7 are in the millions period. The number and word notation is going to be my greatest place, which is 27. And I'll see that comma, which will give me the indicator of my place value place. So 27 is in the millions. So when I convert that number to number and word notation, it's going to be 27 million. Because again, I'm looking at my greatest place, this 27. I'm looking at where that comma is and it tells me it's million. So let's look at another example. And the example I'm going to use, I'm going to write it on the line. And I'm writing the number in standard notation, but we're changing it to number and word notation. So again, I'm going to look at my significant places and I'm going to look at the significant digits. I've got an 8. Where I see a comma in my number and word, that's going to become a period. And then I'm going to write my next significant digit. So I've got the 8.5. Then I'm going to look at where that comma was by my greatest place, and I see the word billion. So it's going to tell me to write billion. So I look at my digits. If I've got more than one digit, where the comma is where I'm going to write my period, my next significant digit, and then I'm going to look at that greatest place, and that tells me what word I'm going to write. So this number in standard notation is 8.5 billion. So now it's your turn, and I've written the little chart to help you. Again, you're going to stop the video and you're going to convert 900,000 to number and word notation. And then you're going to convert 46,750,000 to number and word notation. So look at your significant digits. Where you see commas, they'll become periods in your number and word notation. And you'll look at your greatest place. The comma by the greatest place will help you know what word to write. So stop the video now and write those numbers in number and word notation. When you're done, start the video again for one more piece of information. So now we're going to talk about vice versa. We can also take a number and word notation and change it to standard notation. So this is the number 125 million. So I'm going to change it to standard notation. 125, those are my significant digits. The word million, that's where my comma goes. That's my greatest place. And I fill in the other places with zeros. So 125 million is written as this on my chart here. Okay, I'm going to erase that and do the other one, which is below there, 32.65 million. So my greatest place is the 32. The word million is going to be replaced here with that period. And then I see the next significant places, 6, 5, and I'll fill in my zeros. So 32.65 million. I see the word million as my greatest place, 32. My period is replaced by the comma here, and my other significant digits are written, followed by zeros. So you're going to have a chance to practice this. Your turn again. This time you're going to change the number and word 140 billion and write it in standard notation, 27.5 thousand, and write that number and word notation in standard notation. When you finish that, you will have had 3 sets of practice items, 6 items in all that you should have on your paper. You may also have some notes about definitions, and then you're done with this video and ready to begin some practice. So again, stop the video, write your standard notation, and then you'll be ready to do some practice in class.